smaller, prettier, and just as enduring. For LVMH Watch Week 2025, Hublot has reimagined the Big Bang Meca-10 in a more accessible 42mm diameter, with a new and more refined 10-day power reserve calibre. You might be asking yourself, what's the advantage of a watch movement having an ultra-long power reserve? These days, we're used to seeing mechanical watches with 70-hour plus power reserves. You often hear these being described as weekend-proof. But beyond that, what's really the point? First of all, while I think winding a mechanical watch is an enjoyable ritual, most watch owners will agree that having to readjust the time after you haven't worn your watch for a while is a bit of a hassle. The less often you have to do that, the better. But the other big advantage of a hefty power reserve is improved isochronism. Basically, a bigger power reserve means a bigger mainspring, or multiple, which means a slower and more consistent release of energy, which helps a watch run more accurately. Hublot is something of a specialist when it comes to ultra-long power reserves. Indeed, Hublot held the record for the watch with the longest power reserve in the world from 2013 to 2019 with the MP05 LaFerrari, which has a whopping 50-day power reserve thanks to 11 mainspring barrels. However, traditionally, big power reserves have typically meant big watches. The MP05 is a crazy 51mm in diameter, while the standard Big Bang Meca-10, which was first released in 2016, is 45mm. That's why this new Big Bang Meca-10 in a 42mm case size is so interesting, as it represents one of the most wearable watches with an ultra-long power reserve on the market. This 42mm collection has launched with 3 different case options: titanium, forged carbon fibre, and 18-karat king gold, which is Hublot's proprietary red gold alloy. The forged carbon fibre model is particularly notable as it's the first of its kind to join the core Big Bang collection. At 13.9mm thick, it's also 0.6mm thinner than the Big Bang Meca-10 45, and, as a point of comparison, is around a whole millimetre thinner than an automatically winding Big Bang Unico 42. Under the hood beats a new in-house movement called the HUB 1205, which is manually wound and, as you might have guessed, has a 240-hour or 10-day power reserve. Hublot has rearranged the layout of the movement a bit compared to the extant HUB 1201 found in the Big Bang Meca-10 45, with the power reserve indicator moving to 3 o'clock. What this also does is reveal the second of the movement's 2 barrels from the dial side. In general, this new Meca-10 movement is even more skeletonized than the previous iteration. It's also finished to a higher standard, which is most evident from the caseback. The bridges of the movement are now brushed and beveled rather than just having matte DLC over right-angled edges. However, it's lost none of its Meccano-like charm, with the Meca-10's signature crémaillère system, which is the rack and pinion that drives the power reserve indicator, still having pride of place at 12 o'clock. Actually, Hublot explains that the HUB 1205's full power reserve exceeds 10 days, but they cap its power reserve indicator at that number as that's the range of optimal chronometric performance. Essentially, a mainspring delivers high torque when fully wound, then settles at a median level for most of its running time before dropping off as it fully empties. It's these variations in torque that affect the accuracy of the movement. You want it all in its median sweet spot for as long as possible, hence the value of a longer power reserve. These fluctuations are more pronounced for big barrels, which is why Hublot's opted for 2 smaller barrels instead of 1 big one in this Meca-10, and by capping and regulating its manual winding, they can keep it in that sweet spot for longer. This is all to say that this new Meca-10 movement is quite clever, and it's impressive that Hublot's been able to fit it into such a relatively small watch. But I'll put it to you, is 42mm still too big for you? Are you waiting for Hublot to go even smaller? And which of these 3 case materials is your favourite? Let me know in the comments. The Hublot Big Bang Meca-10 42 is available now, with pricing starting at $23,000 for titanium, $27,400 for carbon, and $42,700 for king gold. Hey, if you enjoyed this Hublot review and my explanation of long power reserves, and you want to support us, please consider subscribing to this channel if you haven't already. Thanks so much, and until next time, don't be a stranger.